Hello, fifth graders. Today is day one of our new class novel, Crash by Jerry Spinelli. If you recognize that author name, it's because we have read a book by Jerry Spinelli before, our beloved Maniac McGee. So a few weeks before we went into distance learning, we spoke a little bit about author's craft. And author's craft is the specific style or way that an author chooses to write. So that sometimes means that authors from chapter to chapter change the point of view. So maybe Sally is speaking in chapter 1, and then from chapter 2, it's from Jimmy's perspective. And that's a type of author's craft. Sometimes authors use a lot of figurative language. That is an author's craft. Sometimes authors tend to stick to certain themes and messages consistent throughout their different books, and that's also an author's craft. So I want us to keep our brains really, really focused throughout this whole novel on maybe some similarities between author's craft for Jerry Spinelli, some similarities in Maniac McGee to similarities in Crash. So by now you should have read our summary and figured out that this novel is about a boy who seems to maybe be a little bit of a bully, and kind of from the summary it seems like he maybe grows as a person and realizes the way he's treating people isn't the best. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull up, view, present. I'm just going to pull up again. Oh, I didn't share screen. Hang on. Sorry about that. I'm going to pull up there we go. Now you can see what I'm looking at. Put this over here. Front cover and summary. And as a reader, before we even begin with a book, it's really important that we take a look at the front cover, we really analyze it and think to ourselves, what might this book be about? What is the significance of the cover of this book? So right now I'm looking and it looks like there's a little boy, a baby, with some sort of drawing on his face, like a fake mustache. And when I see speech bubbles or thinking bubbles, it can mean two things to me. Either someone's talking or someone's dreaming or thinking of something. So it looks to me like there's a baby dreaming about football. And I think it's really fun to take a look at front covers and summaries and ask ourselves what we think this text might be about, because you can't be wrong. It's your own predictions, your own thoughts, it's your own thinking questions, and you cannot be wrong. So what I want you to do right now is take a look at some pre-reading questions here. So I'm going to read you 4 questions, and I want you to just think as I'm talking. So all you need is a sticky note, a pencil, and a paper. Sticky note or paper and a pencil. So as I'm reading, I'm just going to want you to jot down some things. Just wait till I read all the questions to you. So number 1 asks, based on the summary, what genre do you think this book will be? So are there clues that this book might be fictional? Or you can think, what was Jerry Spinelli's last book that we read? Was it fiction? Was it nonfiction? Was it a biography? What predictions can you make based on the front cover? What predictions can you make based on the front cover? What are you wondering about this book? I'm wondering why there's a baby on the front cover. Who is that baby, and what's that baby's significance to the story? And finally, do you think this book will be similar to Maniac McGee? I discussed this a little bit before. Remember that authors generally have a craft, and many of their books have similar themes, characters, settings. So you can pause me right now if you want, but listen first. I just want you to choose 2 of these questions and jot down some thoughts about them on a sticky note. Jot something down if there was a question that was going through your head when you were looking at the summary. So you can pause me and just jot down any 2 responses to 2 of these questions that you have going in your head right now. Okay, so if you pause me, you should be done by now. Something that I want to show you before you begin reading chapter 1 and 2 today, just going to go back to not sharing screen. Something that I love to do when I start a new novel is I like to make a T-chart that looks like this. I hope it's not backwards. This section of the T-chart says characters, and this section says setting. So when an author in the first few chapters of a book, they generally set the stage by giving you some information about characters and setting. I like to make this T-chart because I like to track my thinking. I like to jot down the characters that I've learned about, little character traits. Stephen, funny. Michael, brave. Those aren't really characters in our book. And I also like to track my thinking about the setting. I like to jot down what I've learned. Farmland, California, whatever it is, I like to keep track of setting and characters because those are two things in the first few chapters that authors generally try to give us a lot of information about. So I'm going to give you two characters that you're going to be meeting in chapter 1 and 2 today. The first character is Crash. If it's backwards, it's C-R-A-S-H. And the second character is Pennweb, P-E-N-N-W-E-B-B. You do not have to make a T-chart like this as you read chapters 1 and 2. It's something I love to do, and I think it helps readers really track their thinking. So you're welcome to make a T-chart like this as you read, but you don't have to. So this is just a great way if you're one of those people who sometimes gets characters a little bit confused like I do. I can meet 5 chapters and I'm like, which one was that? This is a great way to help you think and track it. So that is it for our mini lesson today. As you're reading, I really want you to focus on seeing if the predictions that you made are correct and continuously thinking about author's craft and how Jerry Spinelli might be drawing similarities in the way he writes from Maniac McGee to Crash. And that is it for today. Enjoy chapters 1 and 2.